Angela Merkel has fired a direct warning shot to Emmanuel Macron, ordering the Frenchman to drop his hardline fisheries demands or risk a no-deal Brexit. The German Chancellor said France, and other European Union nations, would lose access to British waters if Britain quits the transition period without an agreement. She told a news conference, "The topic of fish isn't the only topic which still needs to be tackled, and if we can't find an agreement with Great Britain then there will be no agreement about access to British fishing grounds. You also have to keep that in mind." Mr. Macron has become increasingly isolated in his attempt to secure the same level of access to Britain's waters for European vessels after the end of the year. And Boris Johnson has now warned he will walk away from negotiations with the EU unless the bloc offers significant concessions. Mrs. Merkel insisted both sides would have to compromise, including on the regulatory level playing field. She said, "We also need to be ready to compromise. If we want to have an agreement, then both sides need to make a move toward each other. This goes for the level playing field, as well as the question of governance and for fishing, but fishing is far from the only issue. The most important thing is that if we accept and recognize that the UK wants to strike out on its own path and don't want to conform to certain rules of the single market, or it wants to introduce new aid regimes that don't exist in the European Union, then we need to have mechanisms for the new distance between the European Union and the legal framework of the UK, on how we react and what mechanisms we have to ensure that we have fair trade relations." Earlier today Mr. Johnson urged firms to prepare for a no-deal Brexit because he wouldn't engage with the EU unless the bloc changed its fundamental approach. The Prime Minister said, "From the outset we were totally clear that we wanted nothing more complicated than a Canada-style relationship based on friendship and free trade. To judge by the latest EU summit in Brussels, that won't work for our EU partners. They want the continued ability to control our legislative freedom, our fisheries, in a way that is completely unacceptable to an independent country."